It's Tuesday and it's 1:15 Eastern Standard Time, which means it is time for the next episode of Ask Jes. I am Jes Marcy. I am a clutter coach, and every Tuesday I go live to answer all of your questions. If you're joining me live, please say hello in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if the audio is working for you. It should be. It's boot camp week. We are having a fantastic clutter boot camp. If you are a member of Clutter Boot Camp, this is not your boot camp coaching call. This is a weekly live segment where I answer questions. There are, I think, a few questions in here from boot camp that I'm going to answer right now because they're great questions for an Ask Jes segment. It's working fantastic. Julia, Carrie, hello, hello. It's so nice to see you on here live. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay so I can see that you're watching it and come back and say hello to you then as well. We have a lot of questions to get through here today, so I am just going to dive right in. Question number 1. What do you do with clothes you declutter, stuff that isn't good enough for resale or even donation? Do you throw it in the landfill, or is there some kind of textile recycling program option? So, great news. There are lots of textile recycling program options. And if you just bring your clothing or any fabric that you are not going to donate or that can't be donated to one of those clothing donation bins, if it's not good enough to be donated, it will actually be recycled. So that is the easiest thing to do with clothing, and it is a good option for sure. I also want to just say that in our world, putting stuff into a landfill, and there's other questions on this, it's okay if that is your best choice. So I think it's important to recognize that across our country and across the world, there are different recycling options that exist for everyone. And recycling in general is very complex and nuanced. It's not always the best choice, especially if you're recycling stuff that actually can't be recycled. Then it creates a bigger environmental problem. So if throwing something into the garbage or putting it into a landfill is the best option for you, that is okay. That is okay. All right. What do you do with children's clothes and toys they have outgrown? Is it profitable to sell them, or do you just donate or give away? If you sell, how do you go about selling? Consignment, yard sale, or Facebook Marketplace? I would say specifically for children's clothing and toys, it is not profitable to sell that stuff. We have in our world an abundance of children's clothing, specifically children's clothing and children's toys. Donate or give for free is the best thing to do. A lot of times you can't donate children's toys. There are many different charities that don't actually take children's toys because if they've been recalled, they can't resell them, and it's very difficult to keep up with recalls. So you're going to find it's more difficult to let go of children's toys in some cases. I think the best option if you want to get rid of that stuff is just to put it on your local buy nothing group or put it with a free sign at the end of your driveway. That works really, really well. I also think it's rarely profitable to sell very much stuff. Remember that we all have homes overwhelmed with things. We all have lots of stuff. The more stuff that exists in the world, the less valuable each item is. So the more we keep producing, the less value there is on everything that has already been reduced or produced. So really think long and hard before you spend the time selling stuff, because often you are not going to get a good return on your investment when you're talking about your time. On our website, we have a should I sell it calculator that walks you through figuring out if it's worth your time to sell an item. You can grab that for free. It's in the freebie section, jesmarcy.com. So go over there and grab that if you have never looked at it. It's very helpful. Okay. I am 80 and I want to clear clutter. That is awesome. Problem is, I really don't know what to get rid of. I especially need to give away clothes, but when it comes time to clear out clothing I haven't worn because of the size, I think I might also lose weight or wear it again. It's all fashionable, not really what some older women wear. Mentally, I'm much younger. That's awesome. So here's the thing. In your question, you answered your own question. But you said the problem is I don't really know what to get rid of. I especially need to give away clothing. Okay, so clothing is a good place to start. We want everything in our home to support our life today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, today. If clothing doesn't fit you, it's not supporting your life right now. And for somebody like you who asked this question, if you're mentally younger and you buy fashionable clothing, the reality is if you get to the point where you change sizes, you're going to want to go out and get new clothing that's fashionable, especially since you described yourself as a fashionable, mentally younger person. So give yourself the gift of letting go of that which does not fit you, is not serving you, has no place or space in your home or your closet. But start there, let go of that stuff. It's not relevant to your life today. After that, I would start going through category by category or space by space. What is not relevant to my life right now? Let go of anything that is not supporting the life that you need to live in this moment. I love it too, Jennifer. Okay. My husband and I collect toys and skulls. My problem is that I have OCD, and when I become obsessed with something, I collect huge amounts of whatever it is: shoes, clothes, paints, plants, perfume, jigsaw puzzles, plushies, creepy dolls, etc., etc. I am feeling so overwhelmed. I'm about to turn 53, and I don't want to spend another year of my life buried in stuff. I need strategies to deal with this because I feel like there's never enough time. We share our home with 5 dogs, 3 cats, and our 30-year-old son. We all work and our schedules are hectic. Please help. Okay, there's a couple of things I want to comment on specifically with this question. If you have OCD, there's an interesting connection between OCD and hoarding disorder. And I'm not diagnosing anyone with hoarding disorder. I'm just saying that medically, there is a connection. Up until about 3 years ago, hoarding disorder was considered a subcategory of OCD disorders. So it was very common to see the desire to collect items in an OCD situation. So I would definitely say, number one, I don't know if you are getting support for your OCD, but I would mention this to a doctor or medical professional, somebody who really understands collecting and OCD, because they are very much connected. Number two, I don't want to spend another year of my life buried in stuff. So I think that it's really important to be realistic with how long it takes to declutter. It has taken 53 years for you to accumulate this much stuff. It is unlikely that you're going to be able to declutter a tremendous amount in 1 year. You can declutter a lot, but I just think timelines and realistic expectations matter. When it takes a long time to do something, undoing it takes some amount of time that is more than what you might see on television. So just be really realistic. It is going to take time to let go of stuff. But once you start in the process, as long as you're consistent with your effort, it does start to feel so much better pretty quickly. The other thing that's kind of interesting here is you don't want to spend another year of your life buried in this stuff. But then at the end here, it says we all work and our schedules are hectic. If decluttering is a priority for you, you need to prioritize decluttering. So when we say we want to declutter and then we don't actually do it, when you say you want to do something and it's a goal, but you're not actually working towards your goal, it's really just a dream, right? So if decluttering is a priority and you have a hectic schedule, the only way to actually start working and moving forward is to prioritize time in your hectic schedule to deal with the clutter. Clutter is insidious in the ways that it steals our time. When things are overwhelming and stressful, one of the best things that you can do for your future self is to start decluttering right now, because the more you declutter, the more time you're giving yourself in the future. So when you have a hectic schedule and you don't have time to declutter, it ends up making the situation more complicated and worse in the long run because you're stealing time from yourself in the future. So if decluttering is a priority, make it a priority. It doesn't have to be an hour a day. 20 minutes every single day will add up to a significant difference in your life, but you have to do the 20 minutes. There's no way around this. So give yourself this gift of the time to spend decluttering. Truly prioritize it, and you will see things start to unfold in a positive way eventually, pretty soon. But probably if in 1 year your goal is to be decluttered, and you have a hectic schedule, the only way to do this is to start decluttering right now. The other thing is, if you become obsessed with collecting, and you're trying to declutter, I would take a complete break from bringing stuff into your house. So this is what we teach in Clutter Bootcamp, right? What we're learning. If you're in boot camp this week, you're learning stop the flow in, increase the flow out. Stop the flow in, increase the flow out. You're never going to get ahead of yourself if you're continuing to bring stuff into your house. It is mathematically impossible. If you're bringing in 3 cubic feet of stuff every single week and you're only decluttering 1 cubic foot of stuff, you're always going to be having more stuff than you can deal with. We need to take that stuff coming in number as close to 0 as possible, increase the amount that is going out as much as possible until your house is in equilibrium. And I know it seems hard to not collect, to not shop. Challenge yourself to do it. Put that money that you would spend aside. Watch your savings account grow. Watch your debt start to decrease, and get those positive endorphin hits from saving instead of spending. Stop bringing in more. Yes. Okay, there's a series of questions that came in from one person, so I'm going to kind of put them all together here. I live with my parents and I need help not only decluttering the personal space of myself, but also my husband and my daughter. I also need to declutter my storage unit, which I live out of. How can I let things go if I've been through multiple traumas in life? And how do I deal with feeling that I'm throwing away my life and the lives of others? How do I declutter when I have a husband who is a clutter contributor? And how do I teach my daughter to declutter? And then there's one more question that I'm going to address separately. Okay, so when we start decluttering, this is about you. It is about you and your stuff. So sometimes it's really, and it's not that it's not valid, it's valid and easy to talk about all the other people that we're dealing with and the clutter that they're bringing into the house. And that is, I'm sure, very true. But right now, I'm going to ask you to shift that focus. Never mind about the other people. What can you do? We work first and foremost on our own stuff. We get our own space and our own collections under control before we worry about everyone else. And the question here, how do I teach my daughter to declutter? You lead by example. Declutter your stuff and she will see you decluttering, and she may not immediately get on board, but she will observe what you are doing and she will learn those skills and start decluttering on her own timeline when the time is right. So I want you to focus on you. I know it's very easy to worry about other people and consider other people's needs and try and, focus attention on other people. We're taught to do that from a very young age. I give you permission right now to let go of that. Focus on you, because when you focus on yourself, you're able to show up as the best version of you for everyone else in your life. So that it really is helpful to everyone in your world when you're working on your own stuff and focusing on yourself. But for decluttering, focus on you first. What can you control? What can you make choices on? What space is your space that you can worry about? And everyone else will observe what you're doing and they'll get on board eventually, right? But right now, let go of all of the other people and their stuff and whatever the constant but. Just focus on you. Take a deep breath, dive into your own stuff, make decisions on your own things, get your areas and spaces under control, and you will feel so much better. And then you'll be in a much better place to have a discussion with the rest of your family because you will have experienced what you're asking them to do. So let's get through this initial point first. And if you have a storage unit that needs to be decluttered, okay, I would definitely prioritize getting rid of a storage unit, because paying to store your stuff that you're not actually using, it does not make a lot of sense. So let's free up that money, right? Get rid of the storage unit. I always, I am pretty anti-storage unit unless you're using it for like 3 months because you're moving or something like that. But it's a tool, right? It's not a long-term solution. So definitely prioritize getting rid of that storage unit. The other problem with storage units is that oftentimes things get damaged in storage units. They're metal and concrete. There's a lot of moisture problems, there's rodent problems, and typically, unless you've purchased specific insurance, homeowners insurance and storage unit, the business insurance, does not cover damage to the item. So we end up storing a lot of stuff that in the end gets destroyed. Let's get your stuff out of there, get rid of it. It's not supporting your life right now. It is a mental and financial drain. So no storage units. Okay, and how can I let go of stuff when I've been through multiple traumas in my life? That is a great, great question. Number one, I would highly recommend working with a therapist who specializes in the type of trauma that you have dealt with. Trauma and clutter are so connected, so connected. And trauma looks different for everyone. So make sure that you're working with a therapist who can really help you. I would be very honest with your therapist about your clutter. I know it's hard to acknowledge or admit how much clutter you have, but it's helpful for the medical professional to understand what they're dealing with, what you're dealing with. Sorry, what you're dealing with, but not what they're dealing with. And I would proceed with lots of love for yourself. So don't deal with anything emotional. You don't need to do that right now. Start with all the easy, non-emotional stuff first and foremost. The emotional stuff can wait. Sometimes the decluttering will happen. Physically, you'll be removing stuff. Sometimes the decluttering will be happening inside of you, right? You'll be dealing with the trauma, and that is decluttering. So decluttering, we say it's all clutter because all clutter is connected. Sometimes decluttering is external. Sometimes it's internal. It is all decluttering. It all counts, and it's all necessary. How do I let go of things which I have spent money, or my husband has spent money with the intention of reselling, but now sits in storage? Am I not being a good steward for throwing things away or donating perfectly good items that I could sell, but I haven't done yet? I know the rebuttal question. When do I plan to do it? Actually, circling back to the question that came in earlier, you don't need to worry about being a good steward, right? You need to worry about creating a space that is the space that you need in your life. You deserve a home that is a sanctuary. You deserve a home that you love. When it comes to money, we waste money when we purchase something, not when we throw it away. So when we purchase something that we're not going to use, or we don't have space for, or it's not relevant to our life right now, that's when the money is actually spent. That's when I hate the term wasting money because I think there's a lot of lessons in this. And we have no problem paying to educate ourselves when we go to school, but this is another form of education. So if you buy something and you don't use it and it costs $20, well, you got a $20 lesson there. That's all it is. When you let go of it, that's not the point where you're wasting the money. The money has already been spent, right? You're actually just freeing up your space and learning a lesson then, a good quality lesson, right? So that's a positive. We're educating ourselves. When it comes to throwing stuff away, I really believe we have been sold this idea that we are personally responsible for garbage, for damaging, for environmental everything. We can only do so much. We are one very small part of a big puzzle. The best thing that you can possibly do for the earth is consume less. Once you consume something and bring it into your house, you have almost no control over its disposal. You might put it in the recycling bin and it still goes into a landfill. You might bring it to a donation center and it still goes into a landfill. You might put it out for free and it still goes into a landfill. You cannot control what happens when you dispose something. You can only control what happens at the consumption point, when you bring it into your house, when you choose to bring it into your house. So instead of worrying about throwing stuff out, let's worry about how much we're bringing in. How much are we consuming? That is the point where you have control, the most control. And our financial decisions speak volumes. When we stop consuming so much, it forces big corporations to make changes, and that's huge. But don't worry so much about letting go of stuff. You need to breathe. You need space that supports you more than anything else. And if your best option right now is tossing that thing into the garbage, where there's a good chance it's going to end up anyway, that's your best option. I give you permission to do that. In the future, when you have time, when you have space, when you can think through decisions differently because you've learned so much from this experience, then you can make better consumption decisions. But right now, we just need to get our environment that we're living in under control and in a place where we can actually relax and have time and space. Okay. Next question. How does your system differ from others that I have tried in the past? So how do we do decluttering differently? Number one, we're honest. Okay. We give you cold, hard truths. It takes time to declutter. We tell you that. There's a lot of different strategies for decluttering. There's not one right way to do this. So we continue to work with you until you find the strategy that works best for you, right? So there's not one correct way to start decluttering. We are community-based, right? So when you have a compassionate, non-judgmental community supporting you, it makes a world of difference. Clutter is incredibly isolating. It isolates us from our family members. It isolates us from our friends. And in a lot of ways, it dictates how we live our lives. In a weird way, it isolates us from ourselves because we always feel this pressure to be at home doing stuff instead of living this life and doing these activities that truly bring us joy. Having community is like the antidote to the isolation. So having a strong community makes all of the difference. And our communities, as you know, if you've been around here, are the best communities on the internet. So that is the difference that we bring to the table. And this question kind of segues very nicely into this next question. I want to join one of your programs, but I'm counting every penny. Do you ever offer a sale? All right. So our programs are already deeply, deeply discounted. You get a tremendous value for every penny that you spend with us. That being said, we do occasionally offer promotions, and there is going to be a promotion coming out this Friday for Clutter Boss Basics. So keep your eyes open. We'll be sharing that on Friday. So there's a little heads up. We also do have other promotions planned for the rest of the year. I am not exactly sure what they are yet, or I do know, but I don't know enough to answer it on here live. But as long as you're paying attention to social media, opening up our emails, you'll get information about promotions as they happen, because I do really understand how important it is to get the best value for your money. All right. That is the end of our Ask Jes. You're doing an amazing job. If you still wanted to join bootcamp, you've only missed day one and you can rewatch that at any time. You can still join. It's jesmarcy.com/bootcamp. We'll pop the link in here. Still definitely a great thing to join at the beginning of this week. Sending everyone lots of love. I will see you all same time, same place next week. Bye for now.